So I just got back from a walk around my neighborhood and a little bit of the sort of Homey Adams Park here in Palm Desert, which is right across the street from me, um, making some morning observations for the City Nature Challenge. And I haven't uploaded anything yet or put anything into the iNaturalist project so that it counts for the program yet. So that's what I want to kind of show you how that works this morning. So the only thing I did this morning to prepare to go out was just charge my phone up and bring a bottle of water with me because it was pretty warm even early in the morning. It was a nice little breeze, but it was warm. I didn't install any software or anything like that, or I didn't have to use the iNaturalist account. The way I like to do it to make a lot of observations in a hurry, or not necessarily in a hurry, but just to make a lot of observations is just to use the regular phone camera app on my phone. So I just took my phone, charged it up, and when I first stepped outside the door, I opened up any mapping app, like Google Maps or a trail app, whatever you have, and pushed the little locator button so that it would say, here you are in the world. And that just forces your phone to start recording your location and not like try and save battery by only looking at your location when you're asking for it. So you ask for your location, and then the photos that you take will have the location embedded on them as long as you've enabled that setting or not disabled that setting. So all I did was go for a walk and take pictures of my camera, and I walked around the neighborhood here and the alleyway, and there were some little garden flower beds that had some nice little insects in them and some weeds growing around people's yards in some cases. And then I walked over into the desert area along the Homey Adams Park near the Homestead Trail and where people go up to the cross. And it was kind of busy there, so I turned the other way and went up the street a little bit and just saw what I could see along the road there. And then when I got back home, the way I got the pictures onto my computer, and the way that I do that is by using a free Dropbox app on my phone. And if you have Dropbox set up on your computer and on your phone, you can get this camera uploads, automatic camera uploads. So as soon as you connect to Wi-Fi when you're back home, your pictures will all upload straight into your computer, and then you'll have a folder of them on your computer. And that's what I have here. So I moved the folders. I took 175 photos, and then I deleted a few of them or got rid of a few of them because they weren't in focus or whatever. So I ended up with 151 photos in my folder here, my iNaturalist folder. So we have some mockingbirds that were singing, and lots of desert dandelions are really spectacular out there. The fagonia or fagonbush was blooming and fruiting, really spectacular. Saw some invasive species, unfortunately, and pulled a few of them while I was out there too. Okay, so now I have these 151 pictures, and I want to get them into iNaturalist. So I'm going to go to my iNaturalist page here. And this is just the regular iNaturalist homepage, iNaturalist.org. And I haven't logged in or anything like that, just to kind of show you what it looks like. So if you haven't created an iNaturalist account, you can sign up here, and you just give them your email, username, and make a password. Tell them you're not a robot, and you can make a few little optional decisions here about whether you want to share your photos or not, and then you create an account. And since I already have an account, I'm going to log in. And that brings me to my sort of dashboard page here, where you can see the observations that are happening nearby and the people that I'm following. Have been seeing things out this morning already. So I'm going to go and upload photos using the bulk web uploader, which is right here, this green button in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And then you can go to either choose files or drag and drop your photos in there. So I'm going to drag and drop my photos, my 151 photos that I brought onto my computer and just drop them on the screen. And they're going to start to upload onto the iNaturalist system. And it'll take a little bit for them to load all the metadata and make sure that there's a location data attached and data attached. Now, if you wanted to, you could go take the extra step of, before you put it into iNaturalist, actually tagging all of your photos. And if you put tags on the metadata, that's a whole other story. It'll actually read that metadata, and if it says like the species name in the tag, it'll upload that immediately or automatically into the system here. So this will take a few minutes. I'm gonna pause and go make myself a glass of ice water, and then we'll be right back. Okay, those are all done uploading to the system, and you can see the little things that said uploading metadata are all gone, and you can see all the pictures and they're all here. So before you submit the 151 observations, what you're going to want to do is to actually identify them. As best as you can. So if you don't know exactly what it is, that's okay. Just sort of identify it as close as you can, or with as much confidence as you can. And one of the really great things about iNaturalist is that it has this computer vision, which will compare your photos to all of the other photos, 31 million photos that people have added to iNaturalist so far, and sort of guess which, based on the similarities, what species it is. So if you click on where it says species name, if you click there, it'll say loading suggestions, and comes up with a Schalzia. Its top species suggestion is little gold poppy, which is correct. That's what it was. So you can just kind of click through here and let the computer vision do its work, or you can add your own observations if you aren't sure about the computer vision, or some combination of, I like using the computer vision because it's kind of fun to see, even if I know what it is, it's kind of fun to see whether the computer gets it right, and also it saves you from a lot of typing. So we'll just go through. So far we're 100% correct. Oops, nope, that's not right. That one was a nudiflora too. So I'm going through this quickly because I remember what these were because I just took these pictures, but if you need to see them a little bigger to shake your memory, you can click on the little magnifying glass here, and it'll bring up a bigger preview of it, so you can shake your memory. And if you get to a place like this, so these were all just single photos that I took of one photo of one organism. But if you need to take multiple photos, or you have multiple photos and you want to combine them together in this format, what you can do is click on one, and you can tell it's selected because it has this. So this is a mourning dove that I saw in the shade of a creosote bush, and I took a couple pictures of it because it's not a very good photo. So I wanted to make sure that it'd be a little more clear what it was. So I select one of those photos, and you can tell it's selected because it has this green boundary around the outside. And then hold down the Shift key on my keyboard, and then click on the other photo, and now they're both selected. So these two photos of the same bird are both highlighted in green, and then you can come up to here and say, oops, one more time, come up here and say combine, and now both photos are going to be uploaded as one observation, which is the correct way to do it. You wouldn't want to add two photos of the same bird as separate observations unless you saw it on separate days. As we can probably guess, that's such a bad picture. It's going to be harder for that figure, for the computer vision to work. So I'm going to type in morning dove and keep going. No, that wasn't right at all. No, none of those are right. This is, you can see it's a stork's bill, has the stork's bill, and the leaves are distinctive for this species, which is not native, and the little purple flowers. So you can either type in stork's bill, and it may not get you to the, if you don't know the species, you can just say stork's bills in general, or the rhodium is the genus. If you do know the species, which in this case I know is secutarium, you can type it in and it'll go in that way. Anyway, this was a nice little walk along the Homey Adams Park here. And as I mentioned, I kind of went, oh, those aren't correct. That was another indigo bush. I'm going to type in the scientific name. You can do either scientific names or common names. It doesn't really matter. iNaturalist will take both, but I like to use the scientific names so I remember them. All right, anyway, nice little walk along the Homey Adams Park, and I kind of avoided where the most people were, and it ended up having some really nice wildflowers, kind of the back part of the southern corner of the park, where there weren't very many people, and there were a lot of wildflowers. That's right. Oops, that's not right. That's kind of a blurry picture, so maybe it's my fault. The computer vision couldn't pick it out of Connectus fremontii. There we are, Fremont's pincushion way down on the list here. Now, I was definitely trying to take pictures of as many species as I could while I was out there. So if I saw something, I tried to get a picture of it. And in some cases, though, I was taking multiple pictures of different organisms, or multiple observations of different organisms that are the same species. So, for example, through our community science program, we're really interested in sweetbush, Cachuckwala's delight here. So I tried to take more than one just observation of those. I took a bunch, but for some things like some of the phacelias, I may have seen more than one, but I only took one picture because I didn't want to be out there forever. Or maybe I did, but had other things to do today. That's another one. That's another mourning dove. It was a little higher up the wash. And it's a little easier to tell what it is, but still pretty far away. So the computer vision is having trouble with it. Usually my strategy for these like birds and insects and things like that have a tendency to fly away if you get too close to them is to take even a crummy picture from far away and then start taking more pictures as I walk towards them. And sometimes they'll stay still and you can get a good picture. And sometimes they don't and you just only have your one crummy picture. But it's still enough to tell it's a mourning dove. I was spending a lot of the time out there trying to track down pictures of honeybees. There were a lot of them out there, but I only managed to get one actually in front of my phone camera for long enough to get a picture. I think next time I go out, I might have to bring some kind of homemade butterfly net. You can also tell in some cases that I was using my hand to help focus the camera. So especially like on Areogonums, is a buckwheat that's really kind of wiry and hard to focus on with a cell phone camera. You know, it often focuses on the rocks behind the camera or behind the plant. You know, I was using my hand to give the camera something to focus off of on the plant. Hold on, what was that? More little gold poppy. Yep. And I was taking lots of pictures of these dye bushes out there because it's one of my favorite plants. No real reason other than that. In some cases, once I was back in the neighborhood area away from the desert area, I was seeing a lot more weeds. I found this kind of cool little wall with mosses and little plants, non-native plants, but still plants growing out of them. And there were some insects and spiders and things growing in there. Now, I don't really know that much about some of these insects, so when the computer vision comes up, I'm kind of picking whatever comes up first in some cases, and in some cases I'm kind of saying, well, these all don't seem to be, some of them seen nearby and some of them don't. So I'm just going to say that one's a fly. It's in the order Diptera. Hopefully somebody else can do better than that. This was this really interesting little fly. A calligrapher fly, according to the computer vision. We'll see if that's right. Well, in this case, I found this mockingbird. Right here, but it wasn't very close to where I could get to with my cell phone camera. You know, zoomed in as much as I could, but still, it's kind of hard to tell what it is. But it was calling really, really nicely, so I was able to record a video and then create a audio file from the video of the call. So I'm gonna actually go back and add a new photo, or not a photo, but an audio file, which is down here at the bottom now. And you can hear the nice call of the mockingbird. Definitely a mockingbird cycling through different calls like that. And I'm gonna combine those two together. So now he's got a picture and an audio file in the same one. And my last one, a cryptantha. Okay, so I ended up, after I combined a few things, I ended up with 139 observations. If you wanted to mark anything as obscured in this section, this would be a good place to do it. If you had all of your observations were of one species, you could select a lot of them at once and make changes there or add them to projects, which isn't really all that useful anymore because they've changed the way the projects work. But if you're adding to an older style project, you could do it here. Otherwise, you can pretty much say you're done here, and I'm going to submit. Oh, I got an error that says you are submitting observations without dates or locations. And then it'll say these are impossible to identify and are not visible in searches. So I'm going to go back and figure out what went wrong. Sometimes the locations won't record, especially if your battery's dying, your phone will stop recording. So I'm just kind of scanning through and looking at the date field here and the location field here, which is filled in for all these. Here's one that doesn't have a location. So luckily I remember where this was. In fact, it was right next to this other one. So if you click on the location, here, I'll go back there a second. If you click on the blank location field, it'll bring up this map of all of your observations that you're uploading at once. And you can see the satellite behind there. You can see, so here's Homey Adams Park. There's neighborhoods over here. There's Cross Trail up there. There's 111. This was my little walk this morning. And that particular picture was right over here. And so you can just click on the spot where you think it was, and then it'll give you this little accuracy bubble to tell you, whether you think it was right there or maybe you're not sure it was somewhere in this block. And I think it was on one of those spots in the alleyway there. So I'm going to make my circle a little bigger and then say update observations. And now you can see the location field is filled in. And let's see, there's another one here. Again, that was right next to that other one. Let's see, is that it? Looks like it. Let's try that now. Okay, so now it's saving 3 of 139 observations. This might be another good opportunity to go and have yourself a glass of ice water, or if you're really adding a lot of observations, or your internet connection isn't so good, might take a little longer, so you could make a sandwich or have some chips. Maybe make some more observations of the things in your patio while you're waiting for your old observations to upload. All right, so all my observations are in iNaturalist and counting towards the City Nature Challenge at this point, because they were taken in this time period. So if I click on one, you don't have to do anything at all. This now has happened automatically, but if you go down the side here, you can see which projects the observation is a part of, or is automatically a part of. And so it's a part of the City Nature Challenge 2020 Inland Empire, and it's part of City Nature Challenge 2020 California, and also was Desert Sands and Sky Islands graduate. I'm showing up in there. It's in the Biodiversity of California, and it's in several other projects. Now, you may not see all these projects here because you're not haven't joined the projects yet. Now, that doesn't mean your observations wouldn't show up there, depending on the rules of the project, but it just means that you haven't joined. So if you don't see these projects, you'd have to go to the project, whatever it is that you want to have it be a part of, that you think it should be a part of. And there will be a join button right here in the top right-hand corner of the project banner. And if you click on that little join button, and confirm that you want to join it, then you'll see the projects on your observation page right here. But whether you see it here or not, it'll be counted towards the project for the City Nature Challenge, because City Nature Challenge takes all observations that take place anywhere inside of the anywhere inside of Riverside County or San Bernardino County. You can see it's 11:30 in the morning, and there are already quite a few observations coming in all over the Coachella Valley and out here, and up in San Bernardino up here. And you can go to the observer board and you can see, so I've made, just by that observation or that upload there, I've had the most observations now, with a lot of other people coming close. And I'm second for observations. And you can see lots of people are seeing fence lizards and brittle-bush and creosote bush, kind of the kind of things you would expect to see out here. And that's it. You're done adding your observations to iNaturalist.